Bring the light of awareness to this possibility of being awake all the time is like watering a plant. So gradually these brief moments of being the awareness at rest begin to just naturally start to open up. So instead of experiencing it for 2 seconds or 5 seconds, it starts to be a minute, starts to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a half an hour, a day, a week. And what I'm talking about here is as this expands, what's expanding is your ability to fall into the experience of being the awareness, to fall into the experience of being the awareness at rest at any and all times, So that through the informal practice, right, by punctuating your everyday life with these brief moments of resting as awareness that will naturally begin to expand, eventually the expansion of these brief moments of awareness will get to the point that it's not necessary to practice it anymore, because now you're aware that you're aware consistently no matter what thoughts are happening and no matter what emotions are occurring and no matter what situations are occurring in the world. This is a very high state. This is a very realized way of experiencing yourself in your life. And the ultimate benefit of it is that when the end of the human life comes, when the end of the physical body comes, right, if you're sufficiently experienced in being in the natural state, you'll be able to witness it instead of be it. You'll be able to witness the end of the body instead of be the end of the body. That's the big promise. That's the litmus test. You know, preparing for the death of the body so that the death of the body is no longer the death of the reality of the awareness that you are, because the awareness that you are was never born and doesn't die. That's the teaching. So the practice of meditation is the practice of realizing what we have learned conceptually, realizing what the teachings tell us. So one of the things that's important to understand about this, because when you go to practice what I've just talked about, there will be confusion. In other words, there will be times when the personality and the awareness are occurring at the same time, and there's confusion, right? So you're confused. What really am I? Am I the awareness? Am I the personality, right? So you just have to stay with those experiences. You just have to trust the truth and stay with those experiences so that you can get to a point where the confusion clears up. The guardians of the gate of the truth are confusion and paradox. And so as you're going through the process of practicing meditation, formal and then informal, there will be times when there's confusion and paradox. What to do? Nothing. There's nothing to do about it. It will come and it will go. So one of the things that's very important to understand is that if you try to be what you are, you will fail. There is no possibility of being what you are by trying. There's no possibility of being what you actually are, the natural state, by changing. There's no possibility of being what you are by doing anything. So you see, this is the paradox. So there, right there, you have a paradox, right? How could I experience my true nature when I don't experience, where I'm at right now is that I'm not experiencing that, but you're telling me in order to experience that, I can't change. How am I going to do that? How am I going to be something that I don't consider myself to be right now without trying? How am I going to do that? Well, the way you're going to do that is you're just going to relax, let the mind calm down, and just through practicing relaxing and allowing the mind to calm down, and just through having distinguished what it feels like to be you, what it feels like to be the awareness itself, just by doing this practice, what is there and has been there will show up. Because your true nature, the natural state, is not something that's going to happen. It's something that has always been the case. By the way, you don't need to meditate at all. Meditation is not for your true nature. Your true nature doesn't need to do anything. Meditation is not for your true nature. Meditation is so that you can give the mind and the personality something to do that it believes will allow them to experience the truth. Give them something to do, right? So you can, you know, it's interesting in a way because through the practice of meditation, you're actually wearing the personality out. You know, you're wearing the personality. That's why in retreats, when people go to retreats, right, you get up at 4 o'clock, right, to start meditating, right? So you have a limited amount of time to sleep, right? And what happens is you wear out the personality. The personality gets tired. It can't keep going. Can't keep the facade going. Can't keep the trick going, right? So that's what it's about, you know, is. And then the other way to look at it is that when you first start to practice meditation and learn these concepts, inevitably you're learning them in the form of the personality, right? And then the personality is interested in them because the personality wants freedom. The personality wants to have that experience of happiness and well-being and peace, right? And calmness. Personality wants that. But the personality was unprepared for the bottom line. The personality was unprepared for the idea that in order to have that, the personality has to die. The personality has to be seen for what it is. The personality, you have to realize that the personality is not you. But now here's the conundrum, right? That your being that personality is a trance. It has been so thoroughly put into your brain, right, that it's not something you can just stop doing, right? And so what has to happen is you have to eventually, at some point, accept and realize that the idea of being a personality is not going to go away. It's not going to end. A lot of people believe that if I meditate enough and if I study and understand the teachings enough, my personality will disappear and I'll be free from its effects and I'll just be experiencing a blissful state of being my true nature. That's not going to happen. The personality is not going anywhere, right? Even if you tire it out and you wear it out, right, and it disappears momentarily because you go to a retreat or something, right? It'll regroup. It'll regroup and show right back up again, right? That's okay, because what this is all about is not trying to get the personality to disappear. It's not necessary. All this is about is allowing yourself to simply realize that that's not what you are. And it can continue to be there, and you can continue to use it, right, as a way of being in the world. You continue to use it as your piece on the game board. You have to continue to use it to show up in your life. But you don't have to believe it's you. You can experience your true nature and be free from the effects and the limitations of being the personality. This is the real freedom. The real freedom is a freedom that's already available to you without changing anything. And so if you succeed through the formal and informal practice, you can get to a point where you're being the personality and the awareness at the same time. Because the personality turns out to be the awareness, manifesting itself as a personality for the purpose of being in the world, right? So now that the duality comes to an end and there is a non-dual experience that the personality and the awareness are the same thing, now I can be in the world as the personality and the awareness at the same time, and because the awareness is now there, it will start to have an effect on the personality and start to have the personality become more consistent with the true nature, with your true nature, with the natural state, So the personality begins to express the truth, begins to express unconditional love, begins to express freedom, begins to express contentment, begins to enjoy life, begins to have fun, begins to be without fear, begins to see things more clearly, so you know how to negotiate your way through the circumstances. You know how to be in relationship in a way that works, and therefore your life is fulfilled. Now you can really enjoy having been born into this world instead of cope with it, instead of put up with it. But you just want to get the corrupt thinking about it out of the way. Like every once in a while, I experience like everything's right with the world, right? It sounds like it sounds like the experience may be accurate, but the thought about it will keep the personality involved. Every once in a while, see what I'm saying? So all you have to do is understand that thought about it, right, is probably not relevant and not true at all. The experience is the real deal. The feeling of being right with the world, the feeling of being that there is nothing wrong, there's no problem, there's nothing that has to change. I mean, it's called the great perfection in some of the teachings, right? I am the experience that everything is right with the world. See, that's the step you have to take, right? Because the personality thinks it's awake, doesn't it? Personality thinks it's awake, right? So through these practices, you want to get to a place where it's clear that's not the case, right? And then all you have to do is realize, though, instead of I am experiencing awareness, I am awareness. Yeah, you don't say to yourself, I am, right? You get the conceptual understanding of what I am is, right? Then you look, yeah? Right now, awareness is happening where you are, isn't it? Yeah. So what he's talking about, what the informal practice is since the awareness is happening where you are, see, this is interesting. The awareness is happening where you are, right? But you still don't get that you and the awareness are the same thing. It's not happening where you are it happening where you are, right? So the practice of the I am is first you have to conceptually understand what I am is, right? The awareness. Then you have to notice that it's there, distinguish it, notice that it's there, right? And then with the practice of it as many times as possible during the day is to just stop and look. Just stop and look. Stop and look, and when you look and you see the awareness, allow yourself to rest as that. Even if it's only for a few moments, right? And then come back into whatever you're doing. Do this as many times as you can, right? And eventually what will happen is there'll be a critical mass. There'll be as much of the experience of yourself as the awareness as there is the experience of yourself as the personality, right? Once that's balanced, right? Soon as that tips in the direction of awareness, that's called critical mass, right? Then you begin to experience yourself as awareness more than the personality. And as that continues to occur, what happens is the personality and the awareness become there is no difference anymore. There just is no difference anymore. You will be aware of the personality playing in terms of the thoughts and the emotions, right? But given now that the awareness is also awake, the awareness is alive and awake, right? That it is now having an effect on the personality in terms of eliminating what aspects of the personality aren't functional and aren't realistic. Just gradually over time, right? Through being awake, right? What's not useful about the personality just falls away naturally over time. And you become more and more at ease, more and more at home, more and more relaxed, more and more satisfied and happy, and more effective in the way that you deal with what comes to you in your life, and more effective in dealing with your relationships. In an awake state, you still see the world that is asleep, the world that is suffering, the world that is in turmoil. You still see that. But now the view you have of it is one that when you see it, you naturally feel compassion, right? You naturally feel compassion because you realize these people are as awake as I am, they just don't know it. They just don't know it. And if they could realize that, the suffering could end at any time. That's why they say when you wake up, you become a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva means that you're now in a position that it's your nature to share what you have discovered with other people. Because part of the discovery is that there are no other people. If anybody is suffering, you're suffering. That's the way you begin to see things.